Shall not all these take up their taunt against him, with scoffing and riddles for him, and say, Woe to him who heaps up what is not his own, for how long, and loads himself with pledges? Will not your debtors suddenly arise, and those awake who will make you tremble? Then you will be spoiled for them, because you have plundered many nations. All the remnant of the peoples shall plunder you, for the blood of man and violence to the earth, to cities and all who dwell in them. Reading from Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 6 through 8. Welcome to Bible Devotionals for Everyday Living, created and written by Alton Spooner. Today's episode includes a brief discussion concerning how there will be great sorrows that await a warmongering nation.
A quick review regarding Habakkuk. Once again, Habakkuk is a prophet to the southern kingdom of Israel, and his prophecies were in the form of a conversation, prayers. His prophecies came as a result of his dialogue with God, and as a result of his prayer life and his concern for his community, the southern kingdom of Israel, and how it was experienced a period of time when the state was not keeping their part of the bargain. They were not observing the Mosaic law. They were a nation of lawbreakers and had slipped into idolatry. And as a result, their judgment was the Babylonian nation. God raised up the Chaldeans, as it is referred to in Habakkuk, which are the Babylonians. That were a great world power at that time. Think King Nebuchadnezzar. The Babylonians came and they sacked Jerusalem. They took the city. And the Babylonians became a great world power until they were overthrown by the Persian Empire. And so here we find ourselves in verse 6. The Bible says that they shall take their taunt against them with scoffing and riddles for him, and say, Woe to him, he heaps up what is not his own, for how long, and loads himself for pledges. What we have here is a taunt song. God showed Habakkuk that the nations that the Babylonians conquered will eventually laugh at the Babylonians. They will come and taunt them. They would then thumb their nose at the Babylonians when it's their turn. See, what goes around comes around. When one nation sacks or conquers another nation, pretty soon, as a form of judgment, God raises up another nation to come and chastise that nation. Nations that love to be warmongers, who love to beat the war drums, eventually a more powerful country gets raised up and beats the war drums and conquers them. And after that warmongering nation is conquered, you see that many times in history there's celebrations. Think V-Day, May 8th, 1945, when we had parades in the major cities of the United States. The more iconic pictures of the parades you see in New York for V-Day, and they had the V-Day for Europe, and they had a V-Day for Japan. These were powerful nations. Japan was a powerful Pacific nation, and Germany was a powerful European nation. And when they fell, when Germany had its unconditional surrender, when they fell, there were celebrations in the street. People danced, people sung, people were excited, and they thumbed their nose at the Germans. We tackled them, we sacked them, we conquered them, and it was a joyous celebration. So what God is showing Habakkuk in verse 6, that there will be a taunt song. There will be a raucous celebration for the Babylonians when it's their turn to fall. Woe to him who keeps up what is not his own. Invading nations eventually are conquered. Invading nations are eventually thrown out. And when they're thrown out, it is pretty embarrassing. Think about the withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan. So what do you see from in verse 6 and 8 is a series of woes, a series of pronounced judgment, a series of distress calls. Woe to him who does it. Woe to him. And it's a constant phraseology that you see throughout the prophets, the minor and the majors, the woes. And think of the woes as a warning or a shame on you, or similar to distress calls or warning signs. But there's more about the Babylonians as far as their personality, as we see here in chapter 2, verse 7, where the Bible speaks of them as heyday lenders, or in verse 7 it says, will not your debtors suddenly arise? It speaks of them as predatory lenders, and that their debtors will arise and refuse to keep dealing with the extortion. They will wake up from their slumber and said, no longer we let you continue extorting us at such high interest rates, at such unfair terms. And also in the world, you got things like the World Monetary Fund, and you have other instruments out there that seems to be good services, financial services for poor nations, but there really are a form of financial shackles or financial restraints. God is not pleased at such financial shenanigans. God is not pleased with some financial trickery like that. This displeases God and is a mark of a wicked nation. And because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the people shall plunder you. And it's like a reap what you sow. You go in and destroy, and you sack, and you conquered many nations, and you heap blood, the precious blood of man. And that's something that I want to do military planners take into consideration when they plan war. And I'm sure there are different generals that study the ethics of war. You know, we have things like the Geneva Code of Convention in there, or international laws to be adhered to during how to conduct a moral war. But when you think about it, man was created in the image of God. Man was created in his image and likeness. And so there's a sacredness to man's life. There's a sacred factor placed on man that is not placed on the animal kingdom. And you'll see that in the early chapters of the book of Genesis, especially after the flood and during the Noahic covenant, that God has a special circumstances around the life of man. And so innocent blood and unethical violence is not to be waged upon the earth. And for the nation that does conduct itself in such a manner, there will be judgment. Killing the innocents on a battlefield or invading countries under false pretenses, there will be consequences for those actions upon a nation. And so this is what's taking place when you read the woes in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6, starting with verse 6. Once again, anytime you hear that phraseology of the woe, that is a distress call. That is a pronouncement of disaster to come. That is a judgment call. And Jesus gives the Pharisees the woe. So that woe, that's the judgment call. The woe is like if you, when you cross into an area that has been deemed a hazmat site. You know, woe to anybody who crosses. It's like, do not enter this facility, hazmat, enter at your own risk. That's the woe. This should be a lesson. And the main takeaway here is that the tables will get turned on a warmongering nation. It is something never to be taken lightly, that God is a just God, that justice will be carried out in his universe. Justice is a part of him, just like gravity is a part of our universe. Justice is a part of our God, and he has a long memory. And sometimes we think, 3 generations go by and we've been a mighty nation. 4 generations has gone by and we're still a mighty nation. people take it for granted and they think, well, we will always be a mighty nation. We can go into any country and do what we want. We're strong. We are the victorious. However, this is God's universe. Heaven is his throne, the earth is his footstool. He is not going to allow a nation to be unjust. Justice will be carried out. It just takes time because God is patient. But when it does come, when you cross that perilous waters, when you don't heed the woes, when you as a country, as a nation, move in a way that displeases God, a series of woes has come. Judgment will be pronounced. When a nation behaves in a way that's contrary to God's nature, a series of woes are to come. And God will judge, and the people will laugh. And you will be embarrassed. A warmongering nation will be embarrassed. Well, thank you for listening to Bible's Devotional for Everyday Living. May God keep you, and may God bless you. Have a good day. Goodbye.